Hello, hello, welcome. Today I am with Stacy Herbert. I've known Stacy since her school days. Her mother was my friend, a very dear friend. And I've known Stacy since then. We live very close together. So after I came back, I did Stacy, let me start properly. Stacy is an author. She writes spoken word, yeah, stories,
stories, short
yes,
stories, poetry,
yes,
all kinds of
poetry,
different
yes,
things, whatever
yes.
grabs my fancy.
Okay, fine. In addition, she's a winemaker,
Yes,
right? And you have a establishment in
yes,
Palatuve,
bloody big.
Bloody Bay, right? Bloody Bay. All right. Today we are at French Fort. This is yes, French Fort is by me where
Yes,
I live,
exactly.
right? So you'll excuse me.
Yes, this is the fort,
Yeah.
Fort George.
Fort George. I've done something here already. When I did Rodney, but we
Yeah,
were at a
Rodney
different.
Picard.
Yes. But we were at a different spot. So today we are here. We're going to talk a little bit about Stacy and her work. And one of the first, I was going to say, I did not know Stacy was a writer. And when I spent 4 years in Nigeria, and when I came back and I joined the Writers Guild, they had a program, and Stacy was one of their guest artists on the program. So that's probably when I,
Became aware.
yes, and
That was at the library.
yes, it was at the library.
I remember.
And the thing about it, I was so impressed with the quality of the work, the subject matter, the depth, the clarity of delivery and everything. And that had to be probably 2017.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there,
Mhm.
yes, because it was pre-COVID.
Yeah, long before COVID.
Long before COVID.
So it was either 2016 or 2017, I think.
Yeah, somewhere about there. Because
Right.
I did stuff with Writers Guild at two different times.
Yes.
Yeah, so it could have been anywhere in between there.
Right, fine. So that is when I heard her work, and from since then, when I started doing this Wisdom Wednesday, I started in January. It has always been in my mind. I say, oh Lord, I must ask Stacy, and it's just from one thing to the next. So I finally have Stacy. So I'm going to Stacy. Welcome, thank you.
Thank you very much, Stacy.
And well, let us hear one of the things I'm interested in. What motivates you to write? Where you get the subject matter, the depth?
Well, different things, life, everything that happens is an opportunity to speak about it. When I was younger, as a child, I used to write, yes, but I wasn't as articulate as now. I hid. I would avoid certain things. I would avoid conflicts. So I wouldn't even. I would be afraid to write about it and all because I don't want to be too loud because I don't want anybody to hear me. And I think that came from because when I was at school I was bullied, and I have on makeup to do. I would not wear makeup even after school and becoming an adult. I used to be terrified to put it on because I didn't want anybody to laugh me about it and that kind of stuff. So getting to the place where I felt comfortable enough to speak,
Yes.
and to articulate. I speak about every and anything, right? So that is where my stories come from. A lot of them is not just stories. I write for purpose, right? So I'm not just writing to tell a story. I'm writing to bring clarity. I'm writing to explain. I'm writing to invite you to consider another perspective.
Yeah.
Maybe because I write this, it might somehow have some similarities in your situation wherever you are, and perhaps you could step back a little bit and give yourself that opportunity to think about it and maybe think about a different way of approaching it. So yeah, so writing for me is conversation.
Right. I suppose that is what drew me to your work, because I write in a similar way where you provoke thought.
Yes, yes,
You
yes.
know, where people say, but wait, this could be so, where you invite people to look at things in a different way.
Yes, look a little closer.
What have we been taught over the years?
Yes.
Is it valid?
Yes,
You know?
yes, yes.
How could we make our lives better? How,
Yes,
the
yes.
truth about ourselves.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
So that's my perspective as per writing, but it's also my perspective in everything. I always, when I do something or don't do something, is because of a reason. I am never, I don't want to say I'm never emotional, but I always think about stepping back. When something happens, I would step back a little bit and listen. How do I frame this? You know, to be able to get the best out of it at the end of the day. Even I think, because I was married before, and I think that in my relationship with my ex-husband, that also I did. I stepped back and I was quiet and didn't say much sometimes. I didn't quarrel, like, you know, that kind of stuff, because I want to have the opportunity to come back and have a conversation. You know? So yeah.
Stacy is also a mother. I leave out the most important part, because she with her darling one and only Eli Amon. Yes.
Yes.
Right. But Stacy, how do you think that you... But before that, let me ask you, this sense of clarity that you have, where do you think it comes from? Because I think, I always remember your mom saying to me, Stacy born big. Like, you know, from, yes, that it is a quality that you have had from child.
Yeah.
Because, you know, she always used to say that, and she would find that you have always been mature for your years, you know. So it is something that I think on as a subject that I ponder on from time to time, you know, where people figure, why this one in like that, or why this person in like that, not recognizing that we are individually who we are. And how has that impacted in your life, with people finding that you should be something and when you are in fact something else?
Wow, that's such a heavy question. So my mother and I always used to fight, right? Because she told you that I born big, yes, because I would question everything.
Right.
Yes, if she said something, I would want to know why.
Yes.
You know, I would always challenge it. I would challenge her. I remember her saying, why you can't be like Shirley-Ann, and you know, why you can't sing, and me, because I am not Shirley-Ann, you know. So we always had that, because I always wanted to do things differently. As a child, I wanted to be a writer, I wanted to be a teacher, I wanted to be an actress. Right? Those are the things I wanted to do. And she said, how is that going to make you money?
Right.
You know, because from that perspective, the perspective of the parent at that time, you know, you're looking at how do you navigate life? You have to get money to live, you know. So she didn't see writing as something that could have provided that space, right? But I have tried to figure out where that sense of independence came from, and I think I was born with it. When I listen to the stories that she would tell me about myself, I realized as a child I have always been like that. I have never tried to be anybody else.
Yes.
You know, even when I didn't like me, I still preferred me. You understand? So, you know, which is the strangest thing. I still didn't want to be anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, so I think maybe I read a lot as a child too.
Yes.
So then perhaps the having the opportunity to see different worlds through stories
Yes.
and books that may have contributed to who I am now, you know, this clarity, right? So that is such a heavy question. You know, even after that, I have always been wanting to know, to find out more, and to develop myself even more. And for me, when I look back at my life, I have been doing that my entire life. I've been trying to improve myself for my entire life, 2020, the year 2020, I remember distinctly in March of that year, I decided, listen, Stacy, you need to lose weight. You need to get yourself in a healthy space. And, you know, I decided that I needed to lose weight, but I didn't want to lose skin because I'm very vain.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to lose
yes.
skin. And I don't want to have surgery. So at that point, I would have been about 318 to 320 pounds. And I decided that I wanted to do something about it. And I was in this space where I was good and fed up.
Right,
You know?
yes.
So I just decided to, I went online and started looking for ways to lose weight without having loose skin. And I came across fasting,
Yes.
you know, and I actually used that, jump into fasting cold turkey.
Right,
And
yes.
did 9 days drinking water alone.
Wow.
You know? And
Hats off, yeah.
and then from that, I started, I continued fasting because after that first 9 days where I self-sabotaged, that was a whole long story, you know, because I was cooking at the same time for my business.
For your business, please.
And even as I was cooking, there was something very interesting about it. I would instinctively know how much to put, and the food was phenomenal because people would come and like, oh my god, this food is so good, and I
you
like
taste it.
I taste it. I don't even know what it tastes like, but all I know instinctively, you know, is like it was a whole spiritual thing.
Yes.
The food came together in a kind of way that was amazing. And I remember one Sunday that day when I self-sabotaged, a guy came, he bought food, and he said, listen, he said, this food tastes real good. I want some food to carry home. I said, I don't have any more. I only have lentil piece. He said, give me the lentil piece of bread. I need to do bread. I said, lentil piece of bread. I like, nah, something had to be real different about this food, boy. So I said, nah, I want to taste it. I take 3 little grains because, you know, you have some lentils, some little grains.
Yeah.
I take 3 little grains and I put it on my tongue and I taste the thing. And that was the beginning of the end, you know. Because my stomach just became so acid. I couldn't, by the night, it was like if I couldn't breathe. Yeah, I couldn't breathe. Acid. I'm like, what is this? That was Sunday. Monday, I pushed through. I drank baking soda water. I used pink salt. I used all kinds of things, and it just didn't work. And Tuesday, I had a class. I was teaching winemaking, and after the class, I basically collapsed.
Yeah, from that.
My sister ended up bringing moringa tea for me, and I drink that, and that's how I catch myself. I could have continued on the fast, but it was like, no, leave it. You gotta eat. But you know, so all that, those things, you know, I think my willingness to explore and to find out, and you know, information brings clarity. You know, it was a whole roundabout way of saying that, because even as I continued on that fasting journey, I remember in July of that very same 2020, by then I had come down to about 200 and 285 or somewhere between 75 to 85. And one day I remember I came home from the restaurant and was feeling a pain in my side. In my front here. And I was, what's that? By midnight, my neighbor had to call the ambulance to me. Because I was in such pain. It was the worst pain that I've ever felt in my life. I can tell you that. People that say childbirth, childbirth is nothing.
Wow.
So, ended up in the hospital. I was diagnosed with something called angiomyolipoma on my kidney. In the context of the right kidney, it's benign. It's not malignant at all. And the only thing was working for that pain was morphine.
Wow.
Right? That's the only thing that was working, and I'm like, I can't live on morphine because it's basically pain management. Because how you're removing something on your kidney without damaging your kidney.
Yeah, without taking out the kidney.
So when I came home now, after I was discharged, and I was praying and like, what to do, and that nice quiet voice said, go back on the fasting, and I went back on. I did 5 days, a 5-day water fast. By the third day, I wasn't having any pain.
Wow.
Right, and I was but with that angiomyolipoma, you get bleeding, right? So you get bleeding between your periods and that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it's like a period that doesn't stop. You know?
My God.
And when I did that again, when I did that 5 days, by the third day, no pain, the bleeding stopped, and it has never come back. All up to this day. I continued fasting. At that same time, when I was diagnosed with that, I was diagnosed with fibroids and bilateral polycystic ovaries. Right? I didn't have any children at that point. I didn't have Eli and all of that point. I was like, oh, that's why. Oh, you have fibroids and polycystic ovaries. Saying that you cannot shred. And I left it alone and like, okay. But I continued on my fasting journey, and in continuing on the fasting journey, when I found out that I was pregnant, I was shocked. I was scared. I tell me I did.
Scared?
Yeah. Pregnant at 43 years old. The funny thing is, the first thing that came to my mind, how am I going to tell mommy? I'm telling you. The first thing come to my mind, like, oh, I'm telling mommy I'm pregnant boy. And I'm like, who is this boy? And I was scared. I told her I didn't tell her for about 3 days. And then I called her. I said, mommy, I want to talk with you. She said, what happened? I'm pregnant. She said, and she was so happy.
Yeah.
Here's why I was so terrified when I analyze myself, because I do a lot of self-analysis. And I try to analyze these feelings. The last conversation my mother and I had about pregnancy was when I was a teenager. And in that conversation, it was, don't come home here with no belly, you know. Wherever you catch your cold, you'll blow your nose. Psychological trauma. I was like, how you telling him? It's like she going to kill me.
Oh, because your marriage had
yeah, my marriage had already dissolved and all of that.
Right.
Yes. She is going to kill me. Because how you telling me?
At 43
At
years.
43 years.
That's a certainly different era. I could understand that. Is the way I would have be able to think.
Yeah. Yeah, I was scared. And now in hindsight, I remember I called, the first person I called, a friend of mine, a girlfriend of mine, we went to school together. I said, girl, I'm pregnant. And she like, hallelujah. She like, what? And I'm like, these geriatric eggs, and she was like, what geriatric eggs and thing, and we had a good laugh about it, But the funny thing, when I did go to the doctor, because she referred me to somebody, and I went to the doctor and he said, well, okay, we'll have to date the pregnancy. Now I know when I do my thing, because I wasn't in a relationship and I had just started.
Yeah.
So I know when I do my thing, right?
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that before that, when I had gone back on the fasting, my period became very regular every 28 days. Like clockwork, I would have this period.
Fasting,
right?
Done.
So I'm like, okay, nice. I put on a period tracker on my phone and thing, and I knowing when I ovulating, and that was like not normal, because I couldn't tell when I was ovulating before, but because I became so aware of my body at that time, I was very, very aware of my body. Even though I'm still very aware of my body, right? And so when I became pregnant, I didn't know that I was pregnant, but I felt something different in my body, right? But I wasn't feeling sick or anything, right? I know that I had a period, but it was a short period. So I told myself I was going into menopause, right? So when I did go to check, it's Kershel, my niece, who said, Auntie Stacy, you're pregnant. Because I was outside one day and just felt dizzy. And when I managed to get inside and stuff and I drank some water, I started to make my part clear, all kind of things, because
You're sure it when I'm dead?
Yeah, because I had never felt like that before. And when I went in and I drank the water and I relaxed a little bit, and Krisha just come out and say, Auntie Stacy, you're pregnant. I'm like, girl, you're crazy. How you come up with that? Because I had never brought anybody at home to say, well, listen, you know, saying she did, I mean, yes, she knew that I had this friend that we used to communicate and stuff, but she had never.
She didn't know you all were intimate.
Yes.
So for her to.
Yeah, to come up with that, I was like, how would she come up with that, you know? So when that, when I did go and check, it was because of that, right? Because she said that. But I was normal. I wasn't sick or anything like that. When I did...
How old was Kershel at that time?
Kershel was 15.
And she...
Yeah, she knew. She just told me that. So, after, when I did go to the doctor and they dated the pregnancy, they told me I was pregnant. Well, I did pregnancy test first and then they dated the pregnancy. I told them when it was, but they didn't really believe. They said, "Man, the baby, that size of baby, no, that baby is." So I said, "No." I said, "Okay, that's what they say." But this is the funny thing about that whole situation. That time when I did that ultrasound, I'm so amazing. So when I did the ultrasound and the ultrasound technician did up the report, she put normal. Unremarkable ovaries, and no, normal ovaries and unremarkable, what's the next one? Something, yeah, but it was like normal. Nothing was there, nothing wrong.
When
right?
you did in
and
fact
like
had polycystic
ovaries and fibroids.
Right.
Right?
So they weren't seeing the fibroids.
There was nothing. There was nothing unremarkable.
Yes.
You know? So I was like, what's this? I say, you sure? She said, yes, it's normal. Everything is there. I say, you see no cysts, you see no fibroids, you don't see anything like that. She said, no, it's normal, unremarkable. It's just usual. I'm like, okay. I was shocked. And here's what was even more shocking, that this baby was so healthy and you see his legs kicking up, right? And I said, what's that movement in there? She said, is the baby kicking?
Oh my gosh.
What was amazing about that, Deirdre? I did 15 days. I did a 15-day water fast. With that child in here, he come out normal. Strong, very strong, normal, energetic, intelligent child.
Yeah. So it is that cleansing that is so necessary.
Yeah, so the clarity that I got also during that time, I think from 2020, between 2020 and now, COVID happened between that time, and for me COVID was such a necessary time for me. I enjoyed it tremendously. I don't want COVID to come back in that kind of intensity or anything like that, but I wish I could get back that time. That's it.
You might have to create it yourself.
Yes, I will have to create it, because that time and that space gave me the opportunity to go within and get even clearer on who I am and what I want in life.
But you know, we came, at least I thought we would have been speaking more about your art form and the fact that you do work, but where we have gravitated to clarity and cleansing is something that we needed, and is something that the COVID period did bring first.
Oh yes.
And as a people on a whole, not only us here in Tobago and Trinidad and whatever, but as a race, we need cleansing.
Oh yes.
You know, we have seen during the COVID time how nature bloomed when we were off the street. And there are a lot of thoughts and stuff that we have that are erroneous and leading us down and things. So it's not only
Yes.
physical cleansing
Yes.
we need
Yes.
mental,
Yes.
emotional,
Yes.
spiritual. There are so many things that we believe and adhere to that,
Yes.
besides not being true, they're not serving no good
They're
purpose.
not serving and exactly. And for me too, since that the beginning of that time at 20 in 2020, I have gone even deeper, gone into myself,
Right.
you know, to get rid of those things that have not been serving me, because there are lots of things that were not serving me and I didn't realize I was holding on to them. Right? So that is absolutely necessary, you know, now having an opportunity to have conversations without escalating it, you know, having the opportunity to pull back instead of carrying on and escalating stuff that, you know, violence could happen, because things like that have happened in the past in my life and in, I'm sure, many people's lives.
Yes.
You know, and that opportunity to cleanse and to really get rid of those things that really not serving us is absolutely necessary. As we say, as for people and for a race, for human beings, it doesn't matter whoever, wherever they are, that cleansing needs to happen. It needs to happen, else we'll just die in the same way that we came born into a particular way, and we'll continue with it and pass it on to our children. For me, I am very happy that I had the opportunity to get internal and deal with some of those things that were holding me back before I had my son, because I was thinking about when you talk about generational curses and things that pass down from generation to generation. Sometimes they say it's in your bloodline and it's all of that, but sometimes it's even more than that. Is in the conversation that your mother would have had with you, the things that she would have told you, that it was like an indoctrination, and she passed it on because her mother told her that. And,
that is, you know, that is the thing with the third to fourth generation.
To the third and fourth generation.
Because it's
so
through the word.
Through the word, right? I hear people talk about diabetes and all those kinds of things that are generational things, but it's not necessarily generational in that
It's the same
food. You learn, they cook, your parents used to cook this and cook it in a particular way, and you come now and you start cooking it the same way. So you actually continuing this lineage of ill health in your family. You pass it on to your children.
Yes.
Without even saying a word, and then you say, oh, my grandmother had diabetes and my great grandmother and all of that, and you had to look deeper than it just happening, because a lot of people feel that it's just in the blood. No, it's not just in the blood.
It's in your mental, your emotional, and your spiritual.
Exactly.
It's ingrained in those
you.
things,
For
your
me,
thoughts.
Yes, for me to even during the fasting, right? I had gone in for physical reasons, right? As I was telling you, the vanity. Because I learned when you do water fasting, when you lose weight, you don't get loose skin, right? But the thing is, I went in for physical benefit, but the spiritual benefits that I get from fasting is phenomenal.
Right, yes.
You understand? Within that time, I was able to confront the fact that I was an emotional eater.
Right.
You know, so for me, it wasn't food that was the issue, or that I was overeating or anything like I greedy. It wasn't anything like that. It was emotional, right? In addition to that, it was also from those generational things, that spirit of poverty that was coming down from the entire lineage, where my great grandmother was a hoarder, right? She used to hoard everything. For her, it manifested in a different way. For her, she would store everything because she don't know if she's gonna get tomorrow, right? To make sure that she get but for me now, I would eat. I used to eat to make sure that I get it, right? Because if I leave it, I might come back and don't eat it because somebody might eat it. So I will eat it now, even though I don't really need it.
Right.
You understand? So fasting gave me the space and taught me all those things.
To be able to analyze
analyze myself, so that I know what is happening at whatever point, so that it makes it a little makes me a little bit more aware. So if I'm going to eat, then you have to decide you're eating, then you're either hungry or sometimes you might be thirsty actually. Sometimes you're just emotional. You
Yeah.
know? For me, after I had Eli, when I had Eli, I was 228 pounds.
Oh.
And the doctor told me, you're losing too much weight because when I started, 226, that was my lowest weight. When
So
I
that
first
was almost 100 pounds you would have lost.
yes. When I first went to him, I was 244. But at that point, I was eating in a particular way. I only wanted vegetables, and that was what my body was asking for. So that is what I was eating. I would eat vegetables. Sometimes I would eat meat. I would eat fish. I would eat whatever my body said that it wanted. Because I found that after fasting, when I had done the fasting, started the fasting, my body basically told me what to eat, right? And I had gone down to that. But then after the baby, which is the strangest thing, I started putting on weight because the doctor told me, you can't lose any more weight. So I started to eat different things to make sure that I don't lose weight and then I end up back in the position where I'm eating all kind of crazy things that I'm not supposed to.
It's easy. It's easy.
Right?
Trust me, it's easy.
Yeah. So then now I have to get back into the space to think, I've already started back in, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, we have to talk about that.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful story. And the thing about it is, though, who was there to assist you? Because I find a lot of people, we need assistance. But like with everything else in your life, you're so self-motivating and all that sort of thing. Because a lot of us want to do better, but don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Don't know where to start.
And that's the thing about my journey. I've never been the person who would ask for help, and I see how it can be. It's a lonely road, and not only a lonely road, but it's also very limiting on me because, and I think is because of same trauma that you were talking about. Don't let nobody know your business, that kind of thing. You don't talk about certain things, don't let your left hand know what your right hand doing. And sometimes those things can be helpful, but sometimes they can hurt also, right? And sometimes because you might, I might need no motivation, but because I don't want anybody to know my business, I wouldn't say anything, and I'm struggling, but I ain't saying anything. And I've realized that this is through searching for myself and trying to find ways to be able to move from the space that I'm in. I find that I'm now in the space where I could actually say, well, listen, this is what it is. I'm no longer afraid to hide. Everything is an opportunity to have a conversation because we don't say certain things and we don't tell the truth about certain things, so we remain in a particular space. And for me, I don't want that space. I don't want my son to be in that space, and I don't want anybody around me to be in that space.
You know what it is you say there about us not speaking the truth? It's one of my pet peeves because we are almost forced not to speak the truth because we want to conform to societal norms.
Yes.
So we pretend that everything is okay because how it's going to look.
Yeah.
And not realizing that the blame that we place on each other, the shaming, and all those things, that they are the villains. Because we are what we are. It is what it is.
Exactly.
And that society over the years has been forcing us to pretend. And that is the quote-unquote devil.
Exactly.
That part of it, not the so-called wrong that we do, It is the pretense that we don't do it.
Exactly.
Because once you own something, then is when you're able to navigate left, right, or thing. But if
Right.
something doesn't belong, if you are denying something,
Right.
how could you improve?
Yes, yes. Or how could you know that it's wrong in the first place?
Yes.
Right? Because how you knowing it's wrong? Because we just, as I have confronted all these things and I'm so happy it happened before, as I said, before I had my son. You know?
Well, probably it needed to happen.
Yes, I needed to have this child at this age.
Yes.
You know? I needed to have this child at this age so that this child could have the maximum, the best.
Yes.
You know? He could have the room to be who he's supposed to be.
Yes.
Right?
Because his mother understands herself.
Yes, I understand myself a lot more. Quite merciful to myself now.
Right.
You know? Because I used to blame myself for a whole lot of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And I look at in growing up, you know, parents who tell their children, do as I say, not as I do.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about all the nice moral things that we should do, tell the children and them that, but your actions showing something different.
Yeah, and it is not that their actions coming from a malicious place.
No, it
is
isn't.
just who they are.
Exactly, and
But
because
because
they
of-
themselves haven't admitted who they are.
Well, I am very gentle to those generations that went before us, you know, because they almost didn't have a choice.
Yeah, I understand.
You understand?
Fully, I'm coming to that
We
place.
in a totally different place.
Yes.
They did not, because they used to think something wrong with them, and they keep hiding to fix it because people
Yes.
will blame them. It will change their life. It have certain jobs they couldn't get. It have
Right.
certain places they couldn't go
Yes.
if they act a certain
Certain
way.
way, or if they find out some certain things about you, because and that is why I think that the incidences of incest and all those things that have been down the
Very-
line, with the bury stuff like that, we do not admit that listen, these things have happened. I have
And
been,
they happening.
yeah, and still happening. I was in a relationship once, and I remember the guy told me, if I ever, any woman who I find out had been raped or anything like that, then I cannot be with that person. So I was like, why? So he said, they just have sexual problems. So I'm like, what? Good
Right.
afternoon. I said, what? So I'm like, I wonder if you know the statistics. How many women get raped? You don't know now. Because plenty people doesn't talk.
No,
Plenty people doesn't talk.
but
And
they
he
do
said
have
that.
problems.
They
but
do have problems, and sometimes it's not even because they were raped or anything like that. Why is this fly bothering me? Sometimes it's not even that they were raped. Sometimes sexual problems doesn't always come from that. Sometimes it's religion, religious
Yes.
beliefs, and you know how you were taught about sex. You know,
religion.
you know.
I always say one of the most sacred things, because we cannot procreate as a race without sex. So it's supposed to be one of the most sacred
Of
things.
course.
Yet the church has made it one of the most profane. You know, and we're not properly educated about it.
Right.
We don't have a good attitude
Towards it, yes.
And then we turn a blind eye because of history, historically, how men treat women.
Yes.
And that whole thing of domination
Yes,
and
yes.
feeling that they could do what they want when they want.
Right.
So up to now.
And even other women who demonize other women
Oh
because
my
they're
gosh,
too
don't
sexual.
talk about that. And like
they-
forgetting about their time when
Yeah.
and
And
there's
not-
a lack of understanding that people are different.
And not only that people are different, that we are sexual beings.
Yes.
You know? And if it is that a woman who enjoys sex, to me, like if they think that this woman something wrong with she,
Yes.
you know, and who is so I feel like this entire thing, we tell plenty lies to ourselves, but we also tell plenty lies to our children.
Yes.
You know, and that has been going down through the generation, from generation to generation to generation. And I am very, very happy that I had the opportunity. I have always taken the opportunity to go inward because have I'm friendly, but I don't have a lot of friends.
Right,
You
yes.
know, because I don't know how to navigate those relationships without offending and all that kind of thing.
But the
Because
thing is, if
sometimes
they
I
ain't
could be,
talking thing, yeah.
for me, I could be truthful to a fault.
Yes,
You know,
I've been
and
accused of that.
yes, and you know, before I damage, I something that I tend to keep in, don't say anything, kind of, you know, so that because a lot of people don't want to be told the truth, and it offends them when you tell them the truth. So, you know, so yeah, navigating and not having anybody to really help you, to really give you advice. I look external. You know, I do a lot of personal development programs outside of Trinidad and Tobago. I look for all kinds of motivational speakers. I look for people who help you to deal with your mind and deal with trauma and all kinds of different things, because it's the only way for me to move forward. You cannot teach what you don't know, and you can't get out of a space that you're not familiar. How do you get out? So you have to get external help in order to be able to do that. And for me, I look outside of Trinidad and Tobago for it.
Yeah. But you know, the thing is, what I find, you know, people like you who have developed themselves and reach a point not only with your understanding of life, but being able to articulate it and share it through your spoken word, your poetry, your stories. I think that we do not support this very much needed thing. You should be busy all the time. I call you to talk to you. It should, you know, somebody where you're talking to somebody, you're doing something. I find we do not recognize the people who bring in real worth to the table in a way, you know, and it is impacting the growth on the island. Because if certain, for instance, if your story is highlighted more, it gives other people more freedom to try to find themselves, you know, to know that it is possible, it could be done, you know, and that to know who they can reach out to, or even for a sentence of encouragement. Stacy did it, then I could try, you know, that sort of thing.
Yes, I think, as you said, because we don't really, if I didn't come out and say this, nobody will know, right? And we have been taught to not toot your own horn and things like that, but I noticed that it is even in business, and even the people who are doing stuff. I noticed it in myself too when I years ago when I was doing business, I wouldn't tell anybody anything. I wouldn't say anything because I would be afraid to talk about it and you know, that kind of thing. And so if you don't say anything, then nobody will know. And we have been guilty of not tooting our own horns, right? You wouldn't know that I have all this information and knowledge if I didn't say anything, right? And sometimes we wait on others to acknowledge us. But the thing is, it is on us to put our story out there and to speak about stuff, else nobody will know. Nobody will know, right? Looking for me, from my perspective, looking for somebody to acknowledge you or to acknowledge me, I could end up in a space where that doesn't happen. So if I want something, because if I want a message to go out, then I have to take the message out and find means and ways to do it. And when you reached out to me, I said yes. But if I wasn't in the space where I felt like, nah, I can't talk to Gertrude about certain things, then I would say no, and nobody will know. Right? So fear keeps us in this place, and acknowledgement of others happens with me putting myself out and the other people putting themselves out and saying what the truth is and what they know and how they can help. And sometimes, because we don't do that, we don't get acknowledgement. But for me, sometimes it's not even acknowledgement, at least from my perspective. It's not that I necessarily need acknowledgement. I need something even deeper than that. For me, I need to be able to help somebody with my story. I need to be able to help that mother who's struggling with how many children and don't know how to turn, don't know where to turn. I need to speak to the woman who wants to have a child and not able to have a child and feel like, oh, I have fibroids and I have all of that and you had to do all these surgeries and all of that. That there are other options
Other
available.
natural ways, yes.
I need to be able to speak to the girl who going to school right now and have self-esteem issues, or the woman who actually had self-esteem issues when she was going to school and growing up, and the people who bullied me at school who now still facing a struggle because they were facing a struggle then and didn't know how to deal with it,
and they bully you
to try to.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle. And I was thinking about this morning too. I was like, you know, Stacy, them people who were mean to you in school and thing, when your life intersects with a person, you have a responsibility for that person. And those people, when I was going to school, our lives intersected at that point, right? And now as an adult, our lives still intersect because I still see their lives and I see how they're struggling. Even though they ain't saying anything, you're seeing the struggles, you could recognize it as a a recovering person, you know, because I say that about myself. I'm recovering from traumas, you know. I see the trauma that they're going through. I recognize it. I recognize the behavior. You understand? Yes. And now I feel this strange responsibility this morning is like this spirit that's telling me you have a responsibility for these people who your life intersected with even those many years ago. You have a responsibility to them people still, because here what?
Sugar flies or something.
Sweetness. Yes. Because here's what they had children and they're teaching them the same thing.
You can't teach somebody what you ain't know.
And that's just it. And I know now. So then if I know, then I have to teach.
Yeah, so what are we saying now? Is a one-on-one teaching by the people we meet, we exchange.
Right, that's one way. We start that way. We could start that way. Most people have a social media handle.
Yeah.
Use that thing that you have to do the thing that you want. That's my business is Mainridge Wines, right?
Yes.
And that is actually part of the story. Use what you have to get what you want. That's advice I got from my mother. My mother get that from she mother and her father.
Right.
You understand? Use what you have to get what you want. You have hands, you have a mouth. I have storytelling, I have writing, I have acting, because I did end up going to university and do drama and theatre arts in education. So yes, I actually am a certified practitioner.
Right.
So, yes. You know, I have all these things at my disposal to do that thing that I really want to get done. So if I want to get a message across, I have all the tools to get this message across. Right?
You know, whereas I agree with you as somebody also who tries to get a message across, I think that we could be a little more supportive of each other.
Yes, we can. I do agree.
Yeah, we could be supportive, and not only about us as citizens, but those at the helm. I think they need to be able to find a way to sort out who they have among them and to make better use of their citizenry.
Yes, but as we just admitted that we cannot teach what we don't know, and we can't. You see, if those that are if they're not in this space, because what I have realized is that in the citizenry, there is a wealth of information, and sometimes I feel like if the citizens are more advanced in thinking than the leadership,
Yes.
right? Which is unfortunate, because how do you govern a people who
More advanced
than you in thinking?
Yeah,
right?
well, some, eh?
Right, yes, some.
And then the other part.
And then you have the other part, right? So, all those things are factors in getting the acknowledgement or the recognition, you know. And then if you're in a space where, you know, trying to keep everything within a certain circle or thing because of obligations, then of course that could be ticklish.
So, okay, if you were to suggest then, because we live on a small island,
Yes.
you know, and to my mind it's manageable once,
Yeah.
how would you go about enlightening the public or shifting what we know for people more individually and collectively to find themselves? And
Right. So I think it starts individually, one-on-one, because, and then that momentum builds.
Right.
Right? Because going on a huge platform and perhaps shouting the message may not necessarily meet everybody.
no, because
Right.
the amount of things
Right.
come against
Yes,
it, man.
yes. So you see how we could sit and have a conversation one-on-one. We have to start in that kind of way, right? We need to be responsible in how we treat with situations and use opportunities to get the message across, right? You have to be very pointed in every single thing. Always be very aware of what you want at the end of the day. So even if circumstances come, because of course you have moments where people will say things and do all kinds of things, but of course you have to be pointed and know what you want to do and what's the purpose of what you want to do, right? So you talk with people, talk with them one-on-one, and you start the movement that way. Right? It then for me, there is no other way to really, you know, do that until you get a certain amount of momentum going.
Yes.
Right? You have to pull people.
Yeah, well, there are a few, okay. One thing that I have realized too, we have to pull people and stuff, yes, right? But like you are multifaceted, I too am multi-skilled. We have to break it down, is whether it's through your word, whether it's through,
Yes.
you know, mental, whether it's through teaching somebody a skill, you know, you with your wine, or
Yes.
we have to find different ways.
Well, for me, I use all the ways that are available to me. All. So I teach winemaking for a reason. It's a
Right.
skill I'm teaching, yes, but in teaching this skill, I teach other skills.
Right, while
Yes.
because they will learn from your experience and just your talk
Right.
and
I
stuff.
don't always only talk about winemaking. I talk about other things. I talk about how to improve your lives in other ways.
Yes.
You understand? So because of that, I use everything. I use it in I got into politics just yes.
Oh, really? I was
Yes.
not aware of that.
Yes,
Oh, you get
yes.
it.
So even in getting into politics, that's another thing, Beatrice.
I could imagine. You're braver than me.
Even that developed me, right?
Yes.
Getting into politics, because I feel like if something is wrong and you don't do anything about it, you don't exhaust every single avenue of dealing with the situation, then as
You're
a
part
human
of the
being,
problem.
Yeah, you are part of the problem and you have failed, right? So for me, every single aspect of my life, every single thing that I'm doing, and I would suggest that anybody who's trying to make a change or to cause a shift in a conversation or a shift in attitude, that they use every single thing at their disposal,
Disposal.
right? Whether it's you're teaching somebody to make something, and the little child that you meet down the road, you treat them kindly. The parents and the who may be going through some situations, you intervene in a I mean, I'm not saying go and jump in the people them fight or anything, but after you could have conversations, right? Sometimes you may not need to even talk to them. Sometimes you just need to make a bread. You just I bake today. Would you like to have a bread? And you open a line of communication. You understand? So every single thing that you do should be pointing towards this space that you want to have a conversation that will shift.
Living by example.
Living by example.
And
so
teaching by
yes,
example.
every single facet of your life must be from that place. And for me, that's what I do. Everything that I do, I want to make sure that I could help some woman empower their children.
Oh gosh, that is such a beautiful and laudable.
The thing is, growing up, I felt like I could have done with some more empowerment.
Yes.
And I felt that my mother was operating in a space where she had her challenges, and because of that, there are things that we didn't have access to that I wish that I had access to. She needed help, not only physically with us as children. She needed mental help and psychological help, time that she could have run away and take a breather somewhere.
Yes.
And she didn't have that kind of support.
My gosh, she did an amazing job.
Yeah,
she is a phenomenal person. Yeah.
I feel like as I get older, I realize I'm turning into my mother, which is a scary thing.
Well, the thing is, I look like my mother. So there's sometimes when I beginning to see it, people will tell you, but when you start to see it for yourself.
Yes, I feel like sometimes I'm turning into my mother.
Well, that's not a bad thing. Your mother is a beautiful person, and with more information, you can only be more beautiful.
I used to think, why she letting these people take advantage of she? Why she did that? Why she that? Why she not saying anything? She too kind, she too nice, she too thing.
All those things are
she's
a beautiful
I used to be so upset with her, But I remember she used to say it, and my grandfather used to say that I think those two people have had the most influence in my life growing up. My grandfather used to say, in the Bible there's a verse that says, do good to those who despise who use you to be like heaping coals of fire on their head, right? Do good. He always would talk about that, and I used to be mad because how you could tell me that but do good and these people trying to kill me as they took out my eye, and turn the other cheek and all them things there. How you could tell me that? But as I get older, I start to understand why.
And sometimes it's not really physically allowing people to do anything wrong, It is more not allowing what they do to change you from who you are.
Exactly.
Yes.
I remember a time I was fasting, this fasting thing. I tell you, I didn't go into it for spiritual reasons, but the spiritual took over the whole thing. I remember I went out the road to get something like the mini mart, and this guy is cussing a little boy in the shop, cussing and carrying on, and telling him how he will box him up and that kind of thing. But the fellow, he does drink. Box him up and thing. So I said, wait. And I in the shop there, I said, wait, so you think that I was standing here and let you box up the little boy? So he turned on me at that point there, at that point, and he turned on me and told me to box me up too. And he could do me and all of that. And Deirdre, the words come up and just stick right here. Stick right here. I couldn't say a word. And no matter how I tried to open my mouth, I couldn't say a word. And I went inside after. I get what I get, and I went inside, went home, in the house. And I started quarreling with God. I'm telling you, I started quarreling with God. I said, how you could do that? And you didn't even give me the satisfaction to speak. And for me, that was like the worst. And just how God could be God and telling me don't talk and shut my throat. And then after, because I was crying because I was vexed.
Yes.
When I vex, I just cry.
Yes.
Yeah,
I understand that.
And when I yeah. And when I went inside, and after now when I calmed down and thing, like this quiet voice just said, you're going to add to this man's burdens. So when you open your mouth and you cuss this man and you tell him all the kinds of things that you want to tell him.
Adding fuel to the fire.
Adding fuel to the fire, but also adding damage to him, because then now he and I would have a strained relationship, because I like, you cussed me, and he would forget that is he cussed me,
because he drunk.
He drunk, and he go say I cuss he, or I do he this, or I do he that, and then it have a bad feeling between the both of us.
And they totally had to live in the same village.
You understand? So I started realizing that when you open your mouth and say something, words does bring life, and words does the word does not go forth and fall to the ground, right? Every time you open your mouth, you create something, and right? And continue speaking certain things, and continue doing. You're continuously creating certain things. And if I had cussed up that fella and tell him all them kind of thing, what true and what ain't true and all that kind of stuff. Look what I go and do. Add more burdens on this man. Add trouble in his life.
In addition to which, it would be reflected back to you.
Exactly.
Because what you put out there, it will come back. Whether you're seeing it or not, it is part of you. You have to pay the price. Exactly.
I know. I would speak from a biblical perspective, because even though I don't consider myself as a Christian, I learn from all kinds.
Yeah, I agree with us not labeling ourselves. Yes, I don't. Too much knowledge out there first.
I am not labeling myself as that, but I do know that the Bible has a lot of wisdom, right? And in the Bible talks about your tongue, and the Bible also talks about life and death is in the tongue, and the Bible also says that we sin in thought, word and deed. And the thing about it is, sometimes we think about something. From the time you think about it, is sin, and I understand why it's sin, because from the time you think about it, you bring it to life.
You bring it in this realm.
You start to bring it into this realm from the time you think about it.
But the thing is, let's clarify that word sin to mean error.
Error, right. Okay.
You understand, that is to miss the mark. I think that is the original root of the thing.
Yes.
So when we bring certain things into the world, we have a responsibility.
Right, exactly, for whatever you bring into this world.
Yeah.
Right, so when you think about it, and then the next thing that you do is that you speak about it.
Right, you strengthen
it there. And then your actions behind it.
Yeah, and then when it comes to a certain strength, you can't, it's out of your hand almost.
Exactly, it's out of your hands from the time you think it and then you speak it. It's out of your hands, because other people hear it from the time you speak it,
But then all these things are alive, and remember, you have kindred spirits around that will pick up on it and go on it. So we're not aware of our power.
Yes, the power of your thought and also of your mouth.
And individual power, because whatever, we might figure we ain't no prime minister, we ain't no this, we ain't no that, but everything adds.
Yes.
And if we in our little world could do the best we can do
in our space,
because then
we have influence over.
Yeah, because it's going out into the atmosphere, we would help.
Of course.
Simmer the thing down.
Yes. Of course.
So I want to ask you about your wine classes, your winemaking classes.
Yes.
How often do you do classes, and Where is it advertised and how?
Okay. So I do classes in different ways. I do one-on-one classes, right? So somebody who wants to learn about winemaking could call me and say, Stacy, I want to do winemaking, and we will do one-on-ones,
Okay.
right? If you want to develop a product for the market, I help you do that, right?
But
So,
as far as wine is
wine,
concerned,
yes.
right.
So I would help you with creating your recipe and the whole fundamentals,
Right.
everything from the beginning to the end. I would do that. So I do that one-on-one. I also teach for community development.
Okay.
Right. So they pay me to do classes, 3-month classes.
Okay,
Right.
right.
In winemaking.
Your one-on-one classes will also last, is a 3-month process,
No.
or that will be shorter?
It will be shorter
because it's more concise, yes, and
yes,
one-on-one.
yes,
yeah.
and it's easier to go through rather than have a class with 50-something people that you have to
Oh
answer.
God, yeah, no, that's
Right, so one-on-one is usually faster, right? So basically, that's how I do my
Yeah.
classes. One-on-ones.
or groups. If
groups,
somebody
yes,
come
groups.
into a group outside of community
Outside of community
development, a group
yes.
of friends could
Yes,
say,
a group of
listen,
friends. I've done it for credit unions who want to empower their members. I've done that for them. I've done that for individual women groups women's group who wants to do something, So that's how I do winemaking classes. Now I am developing a curriculum. I'm developing something so that you could be in China in the middle of the night and buy a course and do it.
all right, that's fantastic. That's
Yes, so
fantastic.
that
That's
I
fantastic.
have the room to be able to go as far and as wide as possible.
Okay, great. That sounds really, really good. All right. The thing is, the amount of things we have to talk about, I think we might have to do this again.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah, because when I thought about meeting, I thought we would have been speaking more about your writing and all that sort of thing. But I think this is as it should be. That because this is of itself is empowering. I like the fact that we spoke the fasting and the importance of it and the spiritual connection, because within Christianity you talk about prayer and fast. Within the Baptists, they went with the mourning and stuff, is about fasting, and through that you have the necessary spiritual experiences. So it shows that when we deny the body, we put the body in its place and not so to the fore,
Right.
that we begin to recognize our spiritual strength. For a lot of us, we don't understand that we are dual beings,
Yes.
and that we in a physical body, but we are spiritual beings having a physical experience.
Yes, yes.
And we cannot access the spiritual side of us unless we quiet the physical side. And in this realm, that it is, you have to be,
Yes, yes.
put on your blinders
Yes.
and go forward, decide that, listen, I go in and quiet that physical aspect of myself.
Yes, yes. For real.
And then everything else would blossom out.
Oh yes, yes. That part, it's very tough. It's tough doing it, but you have to come to a place of decision, and when you come to a place of decision, you will find that it's not as tough as you think it is.
Well,
For me, I think that coming to that place, I don't see myself going back to. I mean, it's impossible for your brain to contract, to relax after you done expand.
Yeah.
It's impossible. But going back to that space where I was before fasting, pre-fasting, that's impossible.
what I want to ask, because I have always been saying that I would like a space where I have controlled fasting, like somebody there with me to hold your hand, as it were. So, seeing that you have that experience, would you consider doing something like that, a small group and guiding people through.
Yes,
Whether
yes.
it's just, it may not be just a water fast, a juice fast,
Yes,
veggies
yes.
only, that different types of
Yes,
program.
yes.
Because seeing that you're a cook and you run a space, you
Yes,
could be
yes,
able.
yes.
I think that's something that
Yes.
you and I could talk about
Yes,
more.
we can. Yes, we can, because coming through this journey, doing this thing during COVID, I was fasting and I was also learning, because the funny thing is that when you're fasting, you realize how much time is spent around food. Yeah, there's a lot of time spent around cooking and preparing meals.
Yeah.
A lot of time going to the grocery, and a lot of time. And I found myself in a space where I had a lot of time. And you get so creative, and there's such clarity during that space and that time when you're fasting, that I was able to, I went online and started learning all kinds of things, right? And I started delving into gastronomy and food science.
Right.
And in delving into that, I started understanding food more, and how to cook even better, using the same natural thing to create the natural flavor in it, how to, the science behind cooking. And since then, my cooking has improved in such a way,
Right.
that I feel like if I'm in a space where I would want to teach, how to do this, how to create those flavors, those natural flavors, using the very same food rather than additives and things that might be harmful to you. During, as I said, when I after my first fast, my body told me what to eat, and because I was so aware of food and flavor and texture and all kinds of different things, I employed all those different things and started creating my food from that perspective. And I would love to be able to teach people how to do that, even as they fasting, how to eat after, how to prepare nutritious, very delicious meals. People just feel like, I used to feel like, if you're going to be a vegetarian, or if you're going to not eat meat, then it's only salad and vegetables. And that is not the truth.
That is not true.
Yeah, there are so many things that you can do. So many things. So I would love to have that conversation. I would love to walk through the process with somebody, right? Because having had that experience and continuing that experience, I would love to coach somebody and somebody's.
Okay.
Fruit.
Well, then we could definitely speak about that. The sun leaving us, you notice that
Yes, it's getting a little bit.
we're getting a little dark. We could probably wind up, but we definitely want to do this again. I could see myself, I would love to do other stuff with you, really, you know, and then really and find ways together. As I said, we will talk about, you know, empowering other people and how we
Yes.
could assist each other in.
In that way. Yes.
So,
I would like that.
Mainridge Wines,
Mainridge Wines.
and you have your restaurant. You have,
Yes, well, it's under renovation. It's for the longest
okay,
while.
so it's under
But-
renovations, but
the thing is, I have decided to use the space that I have to do what I need to do where I'm at there now, because I feel like if I'm stuck, because
Okay.
there's under renovations. But something is coming very soon.
yeah, all right, good.
But you can, of course, my number is still the same. So
Yeah,
I
I will list Stacy's number and how to get in touch with her. So if you want a bottle of her wine, and post a link probably to
Yes,
your page,
yes,
well
Mainridge
then I
Wines
will. You'll be able to teach me to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you will get to her page, and so you could contact her whether you want a one-on-one wine course, whether you have a group, whether So would you go to people too? Yes. Okay, fine.
Yes.
So
yes, you could do online or you could.
all right,
do in
fine.
person.
So we have a lot of options for the winemaking. So you would see, we had a bottle of wine, but we come here, we talk, we forget to bring the wine with us and all that. So we'd have to probably put some pictures and stuff for that too. And so, and as you heard her say that she is quite interested to hold your hand through a fasting period. So whether you're here, we'd find a place. There are lots of places that we could gather to do something like that. What would you say is the minimum time if we want to do a fasting session?
Okay, so you have different stages, different things that you want. If you want to go for longer, you could start small and then build up. Right? So a person could start with intermittent, so like every
well, we know
all those intermittents, right? For me personally, the minimum I like to do is 3 days, right? But I am at a particular place that I could do that, right? But fasting, it depends on the person, if it's a woman or a man, right? It differs also.
So what you're saying, that individual, when somebody contact you, once you speak to them,
right,
you would be
know
able
how
to. So we're talking a minimum of 3 days.
Right, we could do less than that.
For fasting?
Yeah, if you want, you could do a 24-hour fasting.
Right.
Right, but
all right, you mean outside? You're talking about strict fasting, not intermittent. Okay, fine.
Yeah, you
okay,
could do 24-hour fast. You do get benefit from that. But I like minimum 3 days. Right, I normally would fast with my period as a woman. It's if you do have a period, right? You fasting with your period is very, very beneficial, because the first 10 days of your period is the easiest time to do a longer fast.
10 days.
You don't have to do the full 10 days, you could do 3 days. Or 2 days. The longer fast, your body is able to tolerate it at that time. It actually helps you.
Well, that's for people I'm a crone.
No, but you could still. She says she's a crone. Deirdre. What are you saying?
No, but listen,
Deirdre is 65 years old. Deirdre says she's a crone. Please.
No, but the thing about it is, that is a status. We don't know. We look at things in a wrong way. There are certain women you need. You ain't telling me I'm biggish, because it is coming from that point, because it is a status. You have to reach there to be able to do certain things and to be able to understand. So it was not me pulling down myself. It was elevation.
Okay, all right. Okay, I have to look up the word crone then, because I misunderstood.
No, well, people, they have a maiden, you have different stages of womanhood, and the crone is the old woman.
Oh, okay. You know why I had that reaction, in those fairy tales, Hansel and Gretel, and the old witch, the witch was a crone, and the nose always looked like a beak.
Because that is how they put things. You see, once we say witch, you have a negative connotation, but a witch is a wise woman.
Okay.
You understand? It's a wise woman.
I understand.
Oh gosh, and the thing about it, folks, I didn't mean to say anything about crone or whatever. It come out.
It come out. You see, and we had a whole conversation about that.
Yes, it just come out from out. So, okay, lots of love. Till next time.
Till next time.
Okay, bye.